much more likely to connect with some members of my church at 2 o'clock in the morning via Facebook that I would never be able to get them to come to an event. So it's that difference between whether we're inviting folks to come or whether we're going where folks are. As Methodists, Wesley did the whole field preaching thing, and he didn't want to do it. I mean, he thought field preaching was the most horrific thing in the history of the planet, and didn't want to do it. And yet, ultimately, because of that missional impulse, went to that place. And so, I mean, I don't think there's a question of should we or should we not, because in the same way, if you're going to go out in the fields and preach for folks, you've got to go where folks are.
Tell my pastor that so we can get him on Facebook.
Have him call me.
Well, so I would agree.
Start saying things about him on Facebook.
Yeah.
We've considered it. I think we may go for that now.
Because the value should be related to your mission or strategy or goals. I mean, if it's not somehow fulfilling or helping you fulfill that, then there isn't any value. So that would be the way to express it really to people. So that is it specifically according to the mission or not? For the pastor, it would help to understand that it is a tool that works a number of different ways. We've been talking about communicating, but the very first step for most of this, for the right first step for companies or churches or what have you, is the listening part. Because it is such a great, just you search on Google, you go find the things. If you're listening or searching on Twitter, you're really hearing almost real-time conversation that's going on. Our pastor monitors the Twitter streams of the people in the church to understand maybe there's some concerns, and has in fact based Sunday sermons on a topic that has been hot that weekend. So there is there's many ways to skin that cat.
And as a pastor, I can say that in an older congregation, more and more folks are doing Facebook. Even the older folks are doing Facebook because like your 92-year-old grandmother doesn't connect. But I would much rather they be twittering about their concerns than what normally has happened, which is part of our conversation. Those conversations have happened; they're just happening in another form. And at least this sort of gives the ability to have some more openness in those conversations rather than doing the parking lot after the meeting after the meeting.
Yes.
I'm from the Pacific Northwest, where we have spiritual but not church. And one of the values I'm hoping for, and I haven't heard is what I think of as the connection of circles. That Facebook crosses the lines. I know you can do groups, but most people I don't think do. So when a church person says something in their Facebook about their church activity, because they've got church friends, all those other people who were their high school buddies, their people they worked with, all that, that church stuff that you don't talk about at work, at least in the Northwest, you don't, not supposed to, it crosses that line. So suddenly they find out, oh, she goes to a church, or their profile has a religion listed and stuff. So I'm looking at one of the values is crossing those lines, and I'm wondering if that's something of value you guys see.
I mean, I think it's the same thing. I mean, the big question is how do you get these pastors, using this stuff? Well, it's no different than they may go and have lunch and say one thing, or say one thing on Sunday that changes someone's life and touches them in the right way. So why wouldn't you want to be on Twitter and Facebook to put out some little one sentence line or motivation or scripture or whatever? Because you never know who's going to read that and needs it right then, that day, that moment. And what's nice about that specifically with Twitter is you put out something like that, all the people following you who do like it, are they going to retweet it and share it, with their friends? So it just starts to grow. And I mean, the whole point of all this was to spread the word, as much as we can. But you're saying not just within the church walls, but the whole reason is let's tell everybody about this stuff. was like, no big deal, trust me. And he was like, well, we're going to have you a credit, for this and that. And then he calls me a week later, and he was like, I just now realized you've got 8,000 people following you. That's right. And he was like, then we need to do something bigger than this. So I'm officially now free dominance for the rest of the year.
Wow. Party at your house.
Have you put it in order this
You
morning?
might have some.
No, I hated it. I actually like pumpkin.
Say, don't you wish you ordered from a decent?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very fine example of where the corporate side is moving in these areas. While many have started out as putting out this as a marketing tool, many more, and those that are getting the best press now, are integrating their customer service. So it's the Southwest Airlines or it's the Comcast cable, and they're doing these things demonstrably and very visibly, and tying in customer service to use these tools now. So maybe there's a lesson there with the churches, with, again, listening for positive or negative comments about the church and responding to those accordingly.
What I would want to throw in that, though, so we say the Comcast cares, or those, because Comcast has literally turned around their images from a customer service standpoint through that. But part of it is that personal touch. It's not just, we're going to put out an announcement, we're going to have this great big deal, and yada, yada, yada. And my experience at the church, and I'm as guilty as anybody else of this, is that we tend to use those tools to sort of as another sort of news release or announcement service, rather than really communicating with people personally along the way. Now, it's a hard part because it takes time, and we know it takes time. And so Comcast has dedicated staff who do nothing but follow Twitter and make those contacts. But yet, at some point, that's the kind of touch we have.
So, like, I'd say there is a service which you can have multiple people twittering to either the same account, to different accounts, and control that. So that's free. Well, there's a lot of Twitter services.
Code tweets one.
Yes.
Code tweet. COD. There's a couple of them, I'm sure. COD.
For this group here, I would really appreciate having you on panel to just talk about 10,000 Doors and how that connects to the United Methodists and how this group can get involved.
Okay, that's a fair question, because I met somebody from the church the other day, and I was saying, I wish I had a way to bring in groups from Facebook or Google, and I wish we had a way of getting everybody together and do this. And actually, 10,000 Doors is designed that way. It has actually Google Friend Connect, and you can bring all your friends in. So I was surprised, and I said, well, do you know about 10,000 Doors? He said, no, what's that? So it's a good idea to we need some more communication about that. And 10,000 Doors was designed, the idea behind the site, the portal, the struggles that everyone has had over the years, and the sort of false starts with having a portal that Methodists could come to. We're hampered by the factors of human beings involved trying to make this site relevant. What is it that would be relevant for everyone? And think about your demographics. I mean, you've got just the whole swatch of the United States. So what could possibly be relevant to everyone, unless you hired someone from CNN or who was an editor to take in all of the aspects of all of the issues in the world and try and relate that into a portal. Almost impossible to do. And so 10,000 Doors was designed actually with an algorithm, or supposed to have an algorithm, that does listens for Facebook updates and Twitter statuses, and it listens to Google for the blog updates and what topics people are talking about, and it listens to the news, and it's supposed to take all this information in and give it a weight, sort of according to certain keywords, and then those keywords match the content that's available and there's a bucket, there's a giant archive of content, and it's supposed to, as every person comes in, take this information that it knows about what's happening today, and take a little bit of information about the person who's coming from their cache, and their information about them, where they come from, how they get there, and then it's supposed to serve the entire website as a tag cloud, a giant tag cloud. So the most important information is supposed to be highlighted, and least important